You are now watching WhoDooTV.
Welcome to WhoDooTV. I'm Jared.
And I'm Hoosier.
And today we're talking about Ninjak Volume 1.
The Weaponeer.
Yeah.
Yes. Ninjak is a great character.
I loved reading about him. He was super cool. He's got a very cool story.
Ninjak is just awesome. I mean, you get a little bit part Batman. No real superpowers, but has the Playboy money to get the things that he wants, and he's pretty smart with it, so he's quite a bit of a detective / espionage. And then you also get a little 007.
Yep. He's got the government resources to back him.
And he's kind of a jerk.
He is a little bit, isn't he?
Yep. He had some of the Batman story with a... his Alfred wasn't quite as nice.
No, he wasn't necessarily an Alfred in the way of support, I would say.
Not at all.
No,
he really wasn't Alfred at all. It's just he was the butler.
Yeah, that's true. He was the butler, and he just made Colin's life miserable.
Right.
Yeah.
To the point where it seemed abusive.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation for him. And we get a lot of that in this book here.
Right.
Which is really cool. We see the current mission that Colin is on, but Matt Kindt does a really good job of sprinkling in his childhood and his upbringing and how he was formed into who he really is now. And
then the art on it as well really is great. You have Clay Mann does a majority of the books.
Yeah.
You have some of Butch Guice, who does, I think, the Lost Files.
The Lost
is what
Files.
He does. And then they have Roku's backstory. Is we get Juan Jose Rip. All the way around, the art was just very good looking.
Every page was a visual treat, to be honest.
I think they all looked really well. Just that cover, this cover right here.
If I had visited the comic shop when this was on the shelves, this would have immediately caught my eye, and I probably would have picked it up to see what the heck this was.
Right.
Because I didn't know much about Valiant then. I mean, I'm still a newbie.
Let's get into Ninjak Volume 1. Right away, this book opens up with giving you some insight on Ninjak's suit and his weapons that he has on him, and they're pretty awesome. I like the way he did that.
Yeah, it was really cool. It would name the piece on each utility. For instance, there's the 5-function throwing discs. But then it would say something, it would give the description of what that was, but the description was more about Ninjak himself and maybe how he was forged to how he is. It was really cool, and it showed that Ninjak is a weapon almost, you know. As soon as I opened that up, I was reading it, I was like, that's really cool.
Right. And it cleverly blocks out some of the descriptions to kind of not give everything away.
Yeah, there's definitely some redacted pieces in that, so that was pretty cool.
And we start this by Colin King, who is Ninjak. He gets orders to bust Roku out of prison, who is this amazing genetically modified, genetically tailored person that where her hair is a weapon. 3 braids could cut through steel. She's
so intense that the people who captured her had to build a prison around her because they couldn't afford to transport her.
And it sounds cool. The statement they say is she feels no pain, but some say she enjoys it.
She's an intense character.
And she is just such a tough person that she's not even given clothes. She's basically in a mummy outfit. And this first fight scene with Ninjak and her is really cool. I like the part where she drops the clip and then shoots it to explode on him.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? So she's obviously capable.
Right.
I mean, as soon as you see her, you just know that she's capable of anything.
This right here, just this scene right here, thinking about this scene, I'm excited for the Ninjak versus the Valiant universe, because if they could touch what this first scene looks like with Roku and Ninjak fighting each other, it's going to be freaking awesome.
That would be cool. Do you know if Roku's going to be in that?
Yes.
Holy moly. Okay.
She's like the main villain.
Which is really interesting because it starts off and he's breaking her out of prison. But it leads us to why he's doing this. And it's to pretty much gain the favor of her boss.
When we learn about the strategy of Ninjak breaking Roku out, he's also shown the files of the MI6 Ninja program, and he notes a comment that there was a Ninja A, and so he is Ninja K.
Yeah.
And so with the new books that's coming out in a couple months, you're going to have Ninja K.
Ninja K, yeah.
And so we're going to learn more about that ninja program that they give us an instant little piece right there where Matt Kindt was thinking so much ahead right there than you would have thought.
That's going to be a cool series.
And Ninjak is to be undercover as the person who hired Ninjak to get Roku escaped from jail.
Because he wants to get close to the Weaponeer.
Right.
Which is this underground black market weapons dealer who deals in not just regular weapons but weapons of mass destruction and big time stuff that obviously the MI6 wants to get an end to.
And they're looking for the group, the Shadow 7. So there's 7 leaders of this Weaponeers group. And that is Henry Collins, which is Colin King's undercover name for Ninjak. Kind of confusing there. And it is for Ninjak to actually get undercover and be part of this Shadow 7 and actually do what he needs to do to order some of these weapons of mass destruction.
Well, the thing is, they only have one contact that they have confirmed is of the Shadow 7. And it's this big guy named Cannon. We get introduced to Cannon with Colin having to sing karaoke in front of him because Cannon likes to put people in awkward situations to see how they handle it. And so Colin pretty much has to go through this gauntlet of weird things that he needs to do.
He's trying to join a fraternity. He's being hazed.
Yeah, pretty much. And the whole point of this is to get close enough to learn who the other members of the Shadow 7 are.
After Colin does his hazing, he gets entrusted, and then he asks to order a stealth jet. At the end of the first issue, Matt Kindt does a very good job of introducing us to a younger Colin King. 10 years prior, we just got introduced to the MI6 program, and he's a brand new agent.
Right, he's not even in the Ninja program. He's not Ninja K.
Right.
He's just an agent.
And we meet his handler, Angelina, and he is undercover. So at this time he is a spy, and they're in North Korea, and he is trying to get a package from point A to point B, which is a person. And Colin talks about how easy it was for him to be something he's not and to fall in suit of something he wasn't because he wasn't comfortable with who he was. And he ends up accomplishing his mission, but after getting his butt kicked in an alley.
Right.
And Angelina basically gives him a message that, hey dude, you're a spy, not a fighter. What were you thinking?
Yeah, it's really interesting to kind of get a whole nother perspective in this, which is him just getting into this program. The art's different in this one, like we said, Butch Guice is on this one, so it sets us apart. It's very much related in some way to what we're reading as a whole in this book.
Matt Kindt, he adds in a young Colin King, where it has him at the movie sneaking out, getting a cab, and he lives in the King's castle, and it turns out that he's a pretty rich boy.
Yeah, he's super rich, but it also comes with a butler that's not the nicest person in the world. And he gets caught from sneaking out and he just gets the belt, pretty much. Now we see Colin King, or as he's going by in this, Henry Collins. He's being shown around Tokyo. He's in a club. And another initiation thing Cannon has him do is take this gun and put a bullet in the back of someone's head.
Yeah, and Colin knows just where to shoot him to where it won't kill the guy. But he was also skilled enough to know that he was going to have to do something like that.
Yeah.
And he had staked out the area for a while, and he figured out this person that he was going to kill is a trafficker. Human trafficker.
Right.
And so he was, hey, he deserves to die anyway. After Colin shoots the guy and he gets Cannon's affection, they kind of leave, and Roku goes and kills everyone else in the club.
Yeah. Kind of, she's cleanup crew, to be honest. Yeah, in this one, just to kind of make everyone forget their faces.
Right. So Colin gets invited to the Weaponeers by Cannon, so mission accomplished there. And he takes him in, and they start drinking. Colin lets us know that he had spiked the wine. Right.
He'd gone in earlier. There's this time-sensitive wine, and they needed to drink it that night, unless it would kind of die out. It wouldn't be effective at that point. So he's just thinking, 20 steps ahead at this point.
Right. And while they're sitting there watching fights, there's fights going on, and Cannon's just having small talk with them, asks Colin about his watch, and Colin tells him about how it was from his dad from the war. And soon after that, Cannon goes down.
So Cannon goes down, he's out cold, and this gives Colin the opportunity to slip into his Ninjak gear. And so he goes up, he's sneaking around, and he finds a computer, and he hacks into it, and he's he's looking for all the identities of the board of directors with Weaponeer, you know? I gotta say, it's really funny to me, though, that he puts on his ninja gear just to hack into a computer.
Right. But somebody's watching.
That's very true. And here around the corner comes Roku with her slicing tendrils of hair, and
kicks him out the window. And during this issue number 2, Kent brings up the young Ninjak as well again. This time he is reading a murder mystery book.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting about how somebody spiked the tea to kill someone. And at that point, the butler begins to tell him, hey, your parents are dead. They abandoned you. Get over it.
Yeah. And it was so blunt. And he's like, this is the truth, and you got nothing to worry about.
Right. And then the butler accuses Colin of spiking his tea.
Yeah.
Just like the book told him. Right? Yeah. So Colin is not having the butler.
I'm pretty sure Colin would want to spike that tea.
And then we get to a younger Colin King as MI6 agent, and he is in India, and he's set to get a mark. He's given the orders, and he gets behind the person to kill this person. And the person turns around, and it's a lady.
Yeah.
And he just freezes up and messes up and misses his mark altogether. It ends with him and his handler, Angelina, sharing a kiss.
Yeah, which is pretty much against the rules, you know? They say no dating in the workplace.
No dating in the workplace.
So issue 3 comes in, and here we are falling down with Ninjak and Roku, and they're embracing a fight above the city.
During this fall, he mentions that he's seeing all these cameras, and you get some insight to his tech. He says he has a contact lens that has a biocircuit contact that can trace video feeds. So he is actually knowing where all these video feeds are, so he can still the video surveillance, and that way there's no viral Ninjak falling to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want any of that getting out.
Right.
It's really interesting. They cut pretty abruptly to his childhood scenes. And it's kind of these intense moments where you're like, what's going to happen next? You flip the page and it's, oh, we're back to childhood. It kind of slows you down for a second. But we see him working with electronics and sticking these electronics in this toy car that he's kind of playing with, a model car. He sets it down in the hallway, and then the next page it picks right back up into the action of falling over Tokyo.
Colin King falls down. He comes across some security guards that work for Canon.
And we cut back to his childhood. At this point, we see the model car. It's on the ground, and his butler's walking by. And all of a sudden, as soon as the butler walks by, it explodes in his face. It was a bomb that Colin had made for him. The butler wasn't killed, but it gave Colin an opportunity to run away, and he decided to spend some time out in the woods for a bit.
Then we move back into where Colin had landed, and he makes quick work of Cannon's security guards, using some of his techs and ninja stars and whatnot to get back upstairs to erase the videos of him falling.
And he's trying to get back to Cannon as well, so when he wakes up, he's none the wiser of what happened.
Ninjak gets back with Cannon, and he's wearing his James Bond suit now, and Cannon basically says, I know who you are, Ninjak.
Then we cut back to the Lost Files again, and we see Colin tracking Angelina. He's a little smitten by his handler, or enchanted, you might say.
Right.
So he's following her just to kind of get a bit more information about who she is, and he follows her to a jewelry store where she's buying a watch, and it seems to be for another man, so he's a little bummed out about that. So he finds himself a nice park bench to just sit and be by himself.
Right.
But then who walks by but Angelina? And she pretty much says,
you're a horrible spy.
Yeah, that's exactly what she says. And she sits down and she actually presents him with this watch, and it's kind of this sweet moment where it's like, oh, I thought it was for some other guy, and blah, blah, blah. Nice love story.
So that happened. Did you notice anything there tied with the story?
What are you talking about?
So it's interesting that, he chooses to get a watch there from Angelina.
Interesting. And there was the watch that he was talking about with Cannon. Cannon was so interested in. So that watch that he actually has was the one from Angelina? Is that what you're saying?
I think you need to read.
Oh, man. Well, okay. I think I will definitely pick up volume 2, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
But I want to say that this park bench, though, leads them back to his apartment, and, they do a little bit more than just a kiss.
I call it brown chicken, brown cow. You may hear me say that from time to time.
Oh, goodness, please don't.
Brown chicken. Issue number 4, we get the origin of Roku, and she is up in a monastery, and she is with this monk who has no ears, and it shows us that he had an encounter with Master Dark.
Yeah, and Master Dark ended up taking his ears pretty much and burning them off. It looked painful.
And during this monk performs a ceremony on Roku to shove a nail in the back of her skull.
Right, yeah, it's a spiritual ceremony, and he shoves it down, and it pretty much kills her.
And they wrap her up, mummify her almost, and she is to get through the gauntlet, they say, if she is to make it back out. And during this gauntlet, she goes through multiple battles with Onis.
Yeah.
And she keeps learning more and more about herself.
Yeah, it's a struggle, and I'm not sure, I couldn't tell if it was a real thing that she was going through or just a spiritual thing that maybe it was in her mind, but it was these intense battles with, these Japanese demons, and each time it was kind of to prove herself to get through, and they kept asking her, what is your name? What is your name? And she couldn't give her name.
And we kind of end this at the end of it to where they ask her at the end. She says she made up a name, and she made up Roku something something.
Yeah, Rokubi.
Right, Roku.
Yeah.
And that's the way they summarized it too. Then it cuts back to present day, and Roko's talking to Ninjak saying, what's your name, Ninjak?
She says, I recognize your training and you dishonor it, which is really interesting because how would she know that? How would she recognize that?
Well, he saved her in the first issue.
I mean, yeah, but does she know that much from him at that point? Dang. She pretty much just attacks him and tells him he's going to die, and then we cut to another Lost Files. Right. We see these people climbing a mountain, and they find a monk just sitting there by himself, and they start asking him, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And he doesn't say anything, but then they start hearing his voice in their head, and so they decide, like, oh, we have to build something around him. We have to build him a shelter. And he's pretty much leading them without actually saying anything, which is fascinating. It's creating a following that, I mean, without him actually having to do anything, which is fascinating. There's some sort of something going on underneath, it doesn't really explain what's going on, but yeah. And we see another guy, we'll call him a pilgrim, who's climbing the mountain by himself after everything's been built. It's pretty much this monastery.
Right.
It's this big guy. He's kind of asking, how do you get to this place? He finally reaches them, and he asks to speak with the monk. And they say, oh, well, here's your new name, Canon.
Yep.
So we get an origin of canon as well, which I think is really neat. So like all pieces of this book right now, we know pretty much everyone's background. You know, all three characters, Roku, Canon, and Colin King. It's a really great holistic look at the entire situation.
We get into the final issue of this trade, and we start off right where we left off with Roku and Colin, and they begin to fight.
It's a really sweet fight scene. It's super intense. Then Canon ends up calling her off. He wants to end Ninjak himself.
Right. Punches Colin right in the chest, goes through a wall, breaks Colin's ribs.
They find themselves fighting next to Canon's swimming pool, and through some quick thinking,
Colin grabs this cord, wraps it around Canon's ankle, and then ties it to a lot of swimming pool.
Yep, and pretty much leaves him to drown. Yeah. But we get another flashback back to his childhood, and Colin, after having run into the woods and staying out there for a little bit, he comes back and he sees a car outside of his house, and it's his parents' car.
Right. And he comes in, and the butler's singing a different tune, and he says, "Where's my parents? They're in the room." And he just walks back. "Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again." Yeah,
that was super intense because he's still a little kid, and he just told this big butler just to leave him alone. His parents are like, "Where the heck were you? We were looking for you, and
we told you to listen to the butler."
Yeah.
So, and he's got scrapes on him, and
he's a little messed up. But then he was saying like he was experimenting. He was trying some new things out, and he was playing in the safe room.
And then instantly his dad's like, "I thought I told you never to go there." And his dad jumps up and goes to the safe room, and Colin kind of follows him and goes, "Well, that's where it's at." Yeah,
he finally learns how to get to the safe room, and it's full of weapons.
Right. And then just his mischievous look.
Uh-huh.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. And that ends where we're at with the young child, Colin.
Mm-hmm.
We go back into present day, and we are with Colin's handler, Neville.
Mm-hmm.
And Neville goes into a room, and there is Cannon in a pool with his limbs chopped off and oxygen, and he's floating in this pool. And Neville is trying to torture him to get the rest of the names for the Shadow 7.
Yeah, yeah. But that kind of ends with Cannon with a little smirk on his face. So what the heck is going to happen with that?
And then we're left with Roku
Mm-hmm.
Introducing us to a gentleman wearing an all-silver outfit, just very interesting looking. And then we get the last part of the Lost Files, where Colin basically wakes up, turns over, and finds Angelina dead.
Mm-hmm.
She had been killed by a masked person.
Yeah, an intruder. I mean, this isn't any ordinary intruder because he's got the drop on 2 MI6 agents,
Right.
especially one of them who could track Colin and his movements as he's following her. Obviously, she's a better agent than he is,
Right.
and she ends up getting herself killed.
And Colin's going through his head that he goes back to the MI6 headquarters, and since Angelina's dead, he's pretty much dropping the dime on her that it was her doing. She followed him to his apartment because that is strictly against their orders.
Yeah.
For any agent to have another relationship with another agent.
Yeah, it really hurts him to do that, to put the blame on her like that. But he does it because he wants to stay in the MI6 program. He wants to continue to do this because he wants to find her killer.
Right. And then we end this whole trade by getting Colin's new handler. And it turns out that it's Neville, who we met at Colin's castle, giving him his orders for the Weaponeers.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty much how it ends, and it was pretty fun.
Right.
It was really good.
I dig Ninjak. I really like where it's going. I like that Matt Kindt's writing it. He's a huge fan of Ninjak. So
yeah, you could tell there was a lot of love in this project, I gotta say. He put a lot of work into this and really cared about what was being put down on paper.
All around, I give it a great book. If you're a fan of, like I say, if you're a fan of Batman or, of that such, or Arrow, you would probably like Ninjak.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just read this first volume, and I guarantee you'll be hooked.
Right. What do you think of it? What do you score it?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5, maybe even a 4.75. To be honest, it was really well done. I enjoyed the weaving of the storylines. It was so well done.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm giving it a 4.75. I loved it.
Yeah, and the art was great too. So
stellar.
Yeah,
definitely read this book. Rapture's coming out soon with Ninjak and Shadow Man, and get caught up on some Ninjak.
Yeah, I agree. Get ready for this event because it's going to be really cool.
If you've read this book, comment below what you thought about it.
Thank you for watching WhoDooTV.
We'd like to thank our friends at OutrightGeekery.com. For more things going on in comics, make sure you check out their website. We put the link in the description.
And to stay connected with all our new videos, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube.
And if you like this video, make sure you hit like. Also, if you got comments or reading suggestions, put those in the comments.
Yeah, or connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at WhoDooTV. We put links in the description.
And as always, thanks for watching WhoDooTV. See you later.